listening to Power Producers Shoptalk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Listening to the podcast is only going to get you so far. Why not take your game to the next level? Check out Power Producer Basecamp on killingcommercial.com today.
Tactical skills that'll help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Want to have the sweet swag that we send out from the Power Producers podcast for your clients and employees? Check out policyt.com today.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Want to create an online presence but don't know how to start? Check out crushingcontent.com. It's done for you, so all you have to do is show up.
This is Power Producers Shop Talk, production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. And today we are going to talk about something that a lot of us probably have struggled with in the past, or maybe even the present. That's call reluctance as a producer. But before we do that, let me encourage you to learn how to rep your brand creatively by visiting mypolicyt.com. We have taken that site and completely overhauled it to where you can get your agency branded gear, anything. There's so many things that we have available for you. It's worth a visit to check it out. policyt.com, POLICYTEE.com. Check it out today. Make sure you let them know that I sent you. Well, you're letting me know because I own it. But at the same time, let me know what you think and let me know how we can make it better for you. With that being said, let's talk about call reluctance. Call reluctance is something that literally plagues tons of commercial insurance producers, and it's a big time barrier to their success in the industry. And for purposes of this, let's focus on phones, but it could also be cold call marketing drops. Sometimes people just can't get going. And that's tough because it's a snowball that builds on success over and over and over again. I was working with an agency that's a member of Killing Commercial this week. And one of the problems that they're facing right now is they don't have a robust enough service department. Their firm is new into moving into the commercial lines. And as a result, the producers are doing a lot of their own servicing at the same time. And what happens is they go out, they do drops for a day, and then they're in the office for a day doing servicing, and they just can never get in that rhythm and cadence that they need to in order to be out doing drops. Rhythm is important. Getting in your groove is important. Whether it's in person, whether it's over the phone, it's a big deal. And the problem with call reluctance is it is just the avoidance of you doing any of that. And I don't understand how you can be a hunter outside going out to kill what you want to eat, drag it back to the cave, if you don't ever go out to hunt to begin with. It's absolutely essential to your success as a producer. So let's talk about it for a second. How do we define call reluctance? Well, I'm going to read a definition, but it could be conceived as an irrational fear or hesitation toward making sales calls. The fear can be deeply rooted in various psychological, environmental, and personal factors, leading to significant impacts on sales performance and missed business opportunities. In the commercial insurance world, where building and maintaining client relationships is paramount, the inability to make proactive outreach efforts can severely limit a producer's effectiveness. Thus, it is crucial to understand what call reluctance entails and why it occurs so that we can effectively address and mitigate its effects. One of the biggest things that causes call reluctance is psychological contributors and the fear of rejection. Nobody likes to be told no, but the reality is we should embrace it, because the more we're told no, the closer we are to getting to yes. And if you've read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, you know that no is actually not a bad place to be. I've talked about it on the podcast before, but think about this for a minute. Voss used to negotiate for people's lives when they were hostage. And he understands the psyche at a level that most don't. And he's been able to very clearly define some of the tactics he used as a negotiator for the FBI and translated them to the business world. And they just make way too much sense. And guess what? If you try them, they work. And so one of the things I tell producers all the time is don't worry about getting to yes, get to know. But in order to get to know, frame the question that you would normally ask to get to yes to get to a no answer. So for example, if I'm going to call somebody who has an experience mod of 1.5, instead of me saying, are you aware that your experience mod is a 1.5? I might say, are you happy that you're paying at least 50% more than the average peer in your industry for workers' comp? No, they're not going to be happy. And what did I do in asking that question? Number one, I probably brought the subject to light in a different way that they may not have looked at before. But number two, I've immediately given them a benchmark of what their peers are getting that they're not, and that is cheaper workers' comp premiums. So the conversation is more likely to carry on. But the reason that that works is because when somebody utters the word no, they feel as if they're in control of the conversation at that point. So if you're a producer who's out there and you're struggling to get to yes the way you want to, think about the questions you're asking, thinking about how to engineer those questions to get to know, but actually making that person feel in control of the conversation so that it continues and they're going where you would like for them to go. It's huge. Psychology is so much of our game that we have to really work on this every day. In addition to the fear of rejection, lack of confidence in your own abilities or knowledge can make a prospect of calling intimidating. Perfectionism is another one, but I want to focus on the whole lack of confidence thing. That soaks through so much at the point of sale or on the phone. It's amazing how good gatekeepers can hear your lack of confidence in your voice. They can hear your fear in your voice. So if you're confident when you call, you have a better chance of getting through. Most of the time, I call a gatekeeper and it's like I've known them for years. Hey, it's David. How have you been? David? Yeah, I was calling to talk to Bob. Does he still handle the workers' comp? I'm not sounding like I'm scared to talk to this person. I'm sounding like I might be actually embarrassing them a little bit because they feel like they should know me because I'm so comfortable. Don't always work off of a rigid script. Sometimes you have to let it flow very, very freely. And that goes into the next point of perfectionism. Perfectionism is a psychological factor that can be absolutely crippling in the calling game, whether it be marketing drops or on the phone. Now, I think that a healthy amount of perfectionism in terms of perfecting your process is good, but having a perfect call or making sure everything is absolutely perfect before you pick up the phone and dial is not empowering you. It's an excuse, and it's keeping you from doing what you need to do. In addition to psychological factors, we have environmental factors that can affect our call performance. The environment that a producer works in can significantly impact their willingness to make calls. Maybe they didn't get trained the way they should, and they feel unprepared or unsure how to handle calls effectively, which leads to avoidance. Maybe they have a lack of supportive systems such as mentorship, constructive feedback, and peer encouragement. Those things can exacerbate feelings of isolation and fear, and high pressure, stressful work environments can drain a producer's motivation and willingness to engage in calling. Think boiler room. How much would we want to be part of that? Those aren't the environments that are successful for what we do. High pressure usually yields horrible results. In addition, there are personal factors. Personal experiences and beliefs can contribute to call reluctance. Previous negative experience, such as harsh rejections or failed calls, make mental blocks in us that make future calling daunting. Personal beliefs and attitudes towards sales shaped by past experiences and cultural conditioning can also influence reluctance. Additionally, work-life balance issues can lead to personal stress spilling over into professional life, further reducing our willingness to make calls. If you know anything at all about me, I do not subscribe to this whole sacrifice your life for your job mentality. There are a lot of successful people out there that are successful by society standards that want to be a slave to their job, that think that you have to be in pain in order to be pushing forward. And I simply don't believe that, and my bank account tends to agree. My family is going to come first. We're going to take our vacations. We're going to take the long weekend. We're going to enjoy time together. And if I need to cut out for a half day to make sure I'm at one of my children's activities, I'm going to do that, period. As a result, I'm not nearly as stressed. I'm free flowing when I'm meeting with clients and prospects, and they get the absolute best version of me. What prospect out there wants to meet with a burnout producer that works 90 hours a week because they're under such pressure to produce that they don't sleep, they don't eat, they're not the best version of themselves. And we owe it to our clients and our prospects to be the best version of ourselves. Personal factors can be huge in call reluctance. But how do we recognize it? How do we know how to even identify call reluctance? Well, it manifests itself in several ways, both behaviorally and emotionally. Behaviorally, we may procrastinate, delaying calls despite understanding their importance. Avoidance of phone calls altogether, or spending excessive time preparing for calls without actually making them, are common signs. I have worked with producers who literally plan to a fault because they think that they're not prepared. And it sort of goes back into that perfectionism thing, when the reality is, I've said this thousands of times, imperfect action supersedes perfect inaction. Just do it. Pick up the phone and dial. I can promise you, if your first call sucks, the next one's going to be a little bit better. The next one's going to be a little bit better. But at the end of the day, you could take so much time prepping that it's 5 o'clock before you realize it. And that doesn't do any good. You got to make sure that you're just making forward progress. Emotionally, call reluctance can cause significant anxiety and stress. You may experience feelings of inadequacy, doubting your ability to succeed in sales calls, and a general lack of motivation to engage in calling activities. And physically, man, can I relate to this? The stress and anxiety associated with call reluctance can lead to discomfort, tension, headaches, and fatigue. And guess what? It can lead to fat. I got fat because I was stressed. I was stressed on having to run the agency from scratch, how to go out and get more revenue, how to make sure that I had the ability to pay the people on my staff, and I would eat bad food and lots of it. Stress is a real thing, and it affects our perception of ourselves, our self-confidence. And I got to tell you, I felt the best I have in years, but I'm also down a ton of weight because I decided, you know what? It's just not worth it. I need to focus on me a little bit more than I have been. And it has made a huge difference. I'm having a great production year, even though I'm not supposed to be producing. And I relate a lot of that back to making sure I'm taking time to focus on not allowing stress to dominate my life. If you recognize call reluctance, that's the first step towards overcoming it. We're not going to have a 12-step program on call reluctance, but I mean, realizing you have a problem is really the first step to you overcoming that problem. You can do self-assessment using tools like questionnaires and reflective journaling. That helps you identify patterns and triggers of the call reluctance. One thing that I actually would encourage everybody to do is just block 30 minutes to an hour once a week on your calendar, maybe make that on Friday, and go back and listen to your calls. Listen to the ones that went great, that you got an appointment from, and think about the things you did that you can replicate moving forward. And then listen to the ones you bombed so that you know not to do those things again. A lot of people don't do that part. And if you don't go back and listen and reflect, you're not going to optimize your potential moving forward. It's no different than anything else in life. Think about that Major League All-Star 300 hitter lifetime that's in a slump and only batting 150 over the last 6 to 8 weeks. What do? The first thing they do is they go and they watch film. They look at what their stance looked like. What was the pitch selection? How were they doing with fastballs versus off speed? What slot were they batting in the lineup? Where did they stand in the batter's box? Were they forward? Were they in middle? Were they in the back? Were they lined up in a little bit to the inside, a little bit to the outside? You know, what are the things that they can notice that they were doing well at the time when they were doing well that they can now go back and replicate? Reflect on what you've done. It will make a huge difference. The other thing is you can use external assessment. You can take those call recordings and give them to supervisors and peers and let them give you feedback. If you're in a great culture agency and they have the ability to give you feedback and you're willing to accept it, let other people hear those things. You know, look at your performance metrics. You know, if you're not tracking your level of success in calls, you're already losing, because we know what gets measured gets done. How many dials are you making? How many answers are you getting? How many people agree to an appointment? And then know that you can then base your activity off of what those metrics tell you moving forward. And in some cases, you might need to get a professional coach or a mentor and look for people that can help coach you to be better. They may be the people that are going to push you to where you need to be, because you don't have that internal support structure. You don't have that ability to self-assess the way you want to. So, you know, take a look at that. Use those strategies and it'll help. How do you build confidence and skills? I would argue you have to get your reps in. I mean, self-confidence comes from winning and not losing a lot. I don't know very many people who gain a ton of self-confidence by getting beat in the face every day. But, you know, with regular training and development, you can build confidence. Go to a webinar, follow good people like Josh Braun on LinkedIn. Let him talk to you about detaching from the outcome and what a good cold call looks like and what a bad cold call looks like. Read the people in the comments when he posts, because there's a lot of valuable information that you can learn from other sales professionals. And a lot of the times it's people who are doing it just about 90% the right way, but there's that one tweak that he'll give them in the comment that's like, wow, there's a light bulb moment. I can get better doing that. But follow people online that can help you. You know, continuing education on sales techniques and product knowledge and client engagement could equip you with the skills that you need to handle the calls effectively. Here's another one that's really uncomfortable, but if you commit to it and you do it right, it works, and that's role playing. Role playing and simulation provide a safe environment for you to practice and improve, and it really does a good job of reducing your fear when you're in the real world application. Some of the psychological techniques you can use, you know, they'll help you change and get rid of negative thought patterns. Cognitive behavioral technologies focus on identifying and altering unhelpful thoughts and behaviors. Visualization, where you may mentally rehearse successful calls and affirmations, where you reinforce positive beliefs about your abilities, can also boost your confidence and reduce anxiety. I'm a huge believer in visualization. I'm a name it and claim it dude. I've always got a reward for what I'm going to get when I hit that next level of success. And maybe that's something you need to think about. Maybe you say, if I get 25 appointments scheduled, I'm going to go out to a nice steak dinner this weekend. I don't know. Maybe you want to do more than that. Maybe it's a revenue goal, but you have to hit the cold call numbers to hit that revenue goal. Maybe if you write $100,000 in new business this year, you're going to buy yourself a new timepiece. I don't know. It has to be personal. It has to be measurable, but it has to be specific to you and something that's going to motivate you. But I definitely think that those things make a big difference. The other thing is you might need to look at adjusting your environment. If you're not in a supportive work environment, then that's a big problem. Supportive work environments are crucial. And that means that there needs to be a fostering of a culture of encouragement where peer support and constructive feedback are readily available. It's not everybody gets a trophy. I want to be clear about that. I don't subscribe to that mentality, but I do think that having positive affirmation and support are key in you being able to push yourself forward. The other thing is look at stress management techniques like mindfulness. I actually did a post on this on the Killing Commercial blog not that long ago, and mindfulness and relaxation exercises are big. I wear this Whoop fitness tracker, and one of the things that it does for me is it tells me what my stress levels look like in terms of strain versus my recovery in my body. And one of the things that helps promote recovery is mindfulness and breathing exercises And I've got to tell you, when I consciously do those things, it really makes a huge difference in terms of my recovery. And I track this stuff every single day like a fiend. But again, what gets measured gets done. And I want to see how much stress I'm putting on myself. And I want to proactively take those measures that I can to keep me from having too much stress in my life. And that translates to more success on sales calls. One of the things you need to be thinking about is, setting realistic and achievable goals for your call activities. Having a call script can give you a structured approach, and it can alleviate some of the pressure of thinking on the spot. But the reality is that a lot of times you need these calls to be fluid. So I wouldn't read from a script, but I would more use it as a framework and allow yourself to flow freely around the main things you need to do in that call to make sure that it doesn't get too monotonous for you. And it also allows you to adapt to the individual personality of the person on the other line. The other thing is you can schedule specific times for making calls, and that'll help create a routine and reduce procrastination. If you say, I'm calling from 9 to 11 every day, and you block your calendar and you only call from 9 to 11 every day, that's going to let you get into that cadence and groove we talked about earlier on. And it's going to make sure that it happens. You're going to commit to it. Once it's on your calendar, live by it. I tell people all the time, my Outlook calendar to me is like the teleprompter is to Ron Burgundy in Anchorman. I'm going to read whatever's on there and do it just as it is. The other thing is use your CRMs. Use your CRMs to be able to keep notes and make your next call and reach out better. If you get shut down, go in and make notes as to why. If you win, go in and make notes as to why. That makes that review, that visualization, and that reflection that we talk about so much easier because you have a history of how you've done these things. And a really good CRM is going to have an integration with your VoIP provider so that you're not only going to have notes, but you're also going to have the actual call. And if you want a gold star, go get a transcription and have it pasted in there. Many of the VoIP providers are giving you transcriptions of your calls at this point. If I make calls from my cell phone, I use this device, this Plod AI device, and it'll record both people on the call, and it'll give me a transcription, a summary, and a mind map of how the call went. And that's just another tool that I have at my disposal, but you don't have to have anything fancy for your cell phone. Most office phones will give that to you at this point, and it's part of the package that you get. And not only that, but it makes you more efficient. When you know the right things to say, you're going to be more efficient. When you know what not to say, you're not going to step on as many landmines. And I think it's really, really important that you set yourself up with planned time for all of this, because the bottom line is, for you to be successful, you have to address call reluctance. It just simply cannot exist in your game. And if you have call reluctance now, what are you doing to diagnose it? What are you doing to treat it? And what deadlines and goals have you set for yourself to make sure that you get to the next level? Because if you haven't done those things, the conversations with leadership in your agency around your lack of production are going to be far more uncomfortable than picking up the phone and talking to a stranger. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Shop Talk. Make sure if you need that external support, you check out the Power Producer Basecamp on killingcommercial.com. Go to the tab for Power Producer Basecamp, learning management system, active online community, and 2 live calls a month, along with one-on-one coaching. I don't know where you're going to find a better deal if you need the support, but I am a little bit biased. We'll catch you next time. See ya.